everybody, Kaylee here, and today I would like to talk to you a bit about string instruments. Now, strings create sound in a very cool way. If you can imagine a string, if you push or pull the string in any direction, it displaces or moves the air around it, causing vibrations to travel through the air. As vibrations travel through the air, they make their way into your ear. When they get there, the thing inside of your ear, called your eardrum, processes that information, feels the vibration, and then your brain tells you what that should sound like, which is kind of amazing. Now, this is technically not a string instrument because, as opposed to a piano, I have a keyboard. Imagination time. Imagine that this is a gigantic baby grand piano. As you open the top of it and you look inside, you see dozens of strings, all different lengths. Some of them like color coordinated so that way the piano tuners know exactly which one it is, and each different string is a different note. Cool thing about the strings, the longer the string is, the lower the note is going to be. The shorter the string is, the higher the note is going to be. So you know what that sounds like. I'm going to start with low. All the way on the left side of the piano is our low side of the piano. And all the way up here on the right is our high side. So we have our short strings and our long strings. And in the middle, we have our C major scale, which I'm going to play for you now. That is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. The musical alphabet only goes from A to G, and then it repeats, and repeats, and repeats forever. So I'm going to play you a little ditty on the piano while I have it out, and then I'm going to push back and move on to our next instrument. Please do not mind my Kermit the Frog voice. It's time to start the music. It's time to light the lights. It's time to meet the Muppets on the Muppet Show tonight. Now, as I hit more than one note at the same time, C, E, and G, it creates something known as a harmony. On other instruments, like wind instruments, this is something that you simply can't do. You only have one instrument, one mouth, one button that you can push, and boom, one note comes out. But on string instruments, you can create sounds with more than one note at a time. You got 10 fingers. You got all these keys. You can arrange them in all different kinds of beautiful ways, creating harmony. More than one note being played at a time. Now, as I push this back, it is time to pull out our next instrument. So, I want to talk to you next about the one that I have the least experience with, but still a bit of knowledge. Our guitars. Now, playing guitars for me is quite difficult. For, unlike the ukulele, the guitar is rather large. When you play string instruments, you are using your hands. Bigger your hands are, the bigger the instrument you want to use. The smaller your hands are, the smaller the instrument you want to use. I got tiny hands. So the guitar does not work that well for me. Everybody's different, and that's perfectly fine. But I still own them, so I'm going to show you. This is my... Oh, there go my Mickey Mouse ears. This is my acoustic guitar. Acoustic. You do not need a speaker to hear this. This thing is very large and in charge. And hollow. Oh, Toby, it's okay. Shh. Sorry, my dog. So, this is hollow. And the thing about that is, Toby, no sound vibrations from you. Lay down. So the thing about it being hollow is that inside of this chamber, the sound waves bounce back and forth, and they grow exponentially, getting louder. And they come out, and you can hear them without any help. The instrument does it all by itself. Acoustic. Wonder if you see anything else that might be acoustic in the room. Now, the guitar is made up of several different parts, which is the body. And then you have the neck, which is this whole area. You have the strings. My guitar is deceptive. My guitar only has 5 strings because I broke one. 5 plus 1, it should be 6. Now, this guitar, all of the strings are the same length, but they made different sounds. That shouldn't be right based on what I said, right? Deceptive. These strings have been pulled to different tensions, or they're all like a different amount of tight, basically. So we start with our loose or our lower string. It vibrates the longest, and it creates the lowest note. So up here, we use our tuning pegs to tighten and loosen the strings. The looser the string, the lower the note. The tighter the string, the higher the note. Same with length. And so we used to go from low to high. Same as we did on the piano. Now, there's something else on this guitar that I need to address. And don't you fret, I will talk about it. They are called frets. These little bumps that run all the way up and down the neck of the guitar. What those do is they help you shorten and lengthen the string, which makes the note lower or higher, just like on the piano. And so I shall demonstrate. When you push down, the fret kind of cuts off the string at that spot, almost like cutting off like its circulation. You know, it can't vibrate past that point because it's got a stopper on it. And so you start low, put your finger down, a little bit higher, a little bit higher. And the higher you go, the shorter the vibrations, the higher the note. Again, not my strongest instrument. Tiny hands. So this was my acoustic guitar. Now, the opposite of acoustic. We are going to talk about what happens when we get electric. Boogie, woogie, woogie. They're very different. Whereas they should have the same strings, but they don't because I broke one on this one. This one has 6 strings, and this one should too. 6 tuning pegs, the same. But what is that? They are completely different sizes, because where this one allows the notes to resonate inside of it, this one uses this lovely little cord to send electronic signals to a speaker, and the speaker does all the work for it. And so I'm going to put the acoustic guitar back, and we're going to talk about the electric. Ooh. All right. Now, the electric guitar, again, neck, frets, tuning pegs, same basic concept. This little box here, instead of that hole that that one has, reads the sound waves that go past them and send all of that information down through these volume and tuning knobs. As you can see, that controls different things, out of the guitar and to the speaker. Now, this guitar, unfortunately, does not hook into my speaker well. It creates some of the worst feedback humanly imaginable, and so I will not subject you to that. However, same basic principle. Pluck a string, makes a sound, but here, without the amp, you don't really hear much. So that is what the chord is for. And that is essentially how an electric guitar works. Same basic principles, but you plug it in. Pretty fun. And you can actually manipulate it a little different. You can make it sound all rock and roll, which is awesome. All right. Now, we are going to move on to my other electric instrument, which I think that you're going to find really interesting because it is my electric violin. This has a lot more going on. One, I can see through it, which is really, really cool. Two, many different parts make this up as opposed to the guitars. Have their, own amount of pieces, but this is something special. We are going to start with the chin rest. So I'm going to put that later. Again, I have my little box in the back that processes the sound waves and sends them to an amplifier. So you can see this one I do have plugged in. Next, we have our fine tuning pegs, which let me make little changes to the string so that way it sounds just right. We have our actual strings. We have our bridge. Same. We have our neck. This lovely little bit, which I think is very pretty, is called the scroll of the violin. And here we have our regular tuning pegs. Now these, unlike the guitar, it doesn't make those small changes. If you turn this a little bit, boom, it's a brand new note. So you have to be very careful when you tune a violin. Now, as you can see, I have this taped off. I use that in most of my lessons as a visual to help people see where the notes should be. But these aren't actually bumps. This is a very flat surface. And so instead of using the frets to guide you to the right note, with the violin, you have to know exactly where your fingers go every time. Completely crazy. No guide for the notes. It is all, you learn it, practice it, and it becomes muscle memory. Your hand remembers where to go. It's pretty amazing to watch professionals play a violin. Very, very impressive instrument. I am not an orchestra violinist by any means, but you practice, you learn, keep going, and eventually my muscle memory might get there. Now, when you start playing the violin, you actually want to start in guitar position, where you hold this side with your left hand, take your right hand, and you just pluck the notes. Placing my hand gently on the strings stops it from vibrating, thus stopping the music. Now, this instrument is in the key of D, so whenever you hear it, unlike the wind instruments, which are in the key of B flat, it's a little different. So we have D, that's how you start learning. This is a basic warm-up guitar position. We also have rest position. The other part of my violin that I will show you now that is very important is called a bow. Now, it is not like a bow and arrow, you pull it, but it's kind of built a little similarly. You can see the strings. Nice bows are made out of, strings are made out of horsehair. Most of them, are plastic substitute, like an imitation, which is completely fine. Gets the job done. It's made out of wood. And down here, there's this little knob where if I turn it to the left, it loosens or lets the bow relax. And so the strings, I can actually show you a little bit better. And as you tighten it, it pulls and it gets a little really tight. Now, on the strings, there is something called rosin. Rosin is sticky. Because rosin is sticky, when I use my Muppet hands, because I like to call them Muppet hands, you hold the bow very gently in your hand. You do not grab it like a club, because you'll get a lot of screeches when you go to play. You grab it very gently. And the only thing that should move when you play the violin is your wrist. Your elbow should not really be a big part of it. You get all positioned and you move down and up. This creates our rhythm, or the different notes, like a clap. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Where the strings create the pitch that goes up and goes down. This creates the rhythm. Now, how do these work together? Because this is sticky, just a little bit, not a lot, not gross. Because this wants to stick to the strings, as you pull it across, the string resists. It's not going to move, but it makes it go back and forth, creating a vibration, creating sound. And now, I'm not sitting on this chord all the way, I will play you a D major scale to the best of my ability. That's a scale. Now, I'm going to attempt some Twinkle Twinkle Little Star for your enjoyment. The electric violin. And last but not least, I'm going to show you my most used instrument, the instrument that fits me perfectly and is by far one of the most fun to play. Violin's still very, very fun. This is my handiest, dandiest ukulele. Now, the reason why I love the ukulele so much is because it's very easy to get one. It is very easy to play one. This is very lightweight. I can use one hand. You should treat your instruments gently, but I know this very well. So, unlike the guitar, with the very large neck and the 6 strings and your hands got to kind of maneuver around it if you have tiny ones, this is built just my size. Because every musician is different. Bigger instruments for bigger hands, smaller instruments for smaller hands. The 4 strings allow me to kind of maneuver a bit better. Now, like my guitar over here, this is not electric. This is an acoustic guitar. So if I knock on this, which I won't because I'm a dog, it is hollow. And it still has the same tuning pegs and the same little bumps along the neck, known as frets. And with this, you can play a lot of different songs. There is a C chord, C harmony. F and G. You always want to come back to C because it just kind of sounds nice. Now I'm going to play you a little song on my ukulele. It is popular mostly in like the South Pacific, Polynesian area, and so I am going to play you a little bit of the Lava Song from the Moana short. It's called I Lava You. A long, long time ago, there was a volcano living like the violin, with the ukulele, in order to create our rhythm, I don't use a bow. I use my hand. Now, when you use your hand, it's called strumming. I'm sorry, I did not realize my big ears were right here. It is called strumming. And when you strum, you create your own rhythm. You can do 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you can get a little funky. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. It's the only real difference, the strumming. And I don't put this up here. So, that is a bit about our string instruments. We've talked about guitars and violins and electric versus acoustic, ukuleles and pianos versus keyboards. And I had a lot of fun today. I hope you guys did as well. Thank you for listening.